Hello guys, welcome back to Lisa Lives. Without further ado, let's get on with what I watched last week. So I finished off last week with Promising Young Woman, which was fantastic, amazing, highly recommend. The next couple of evenings I watched The Empty Man. Okay, so I've given this one 2 out of 5. I'm afraid I wasn't a fan, I found it very slow. This is a movie about a group of young people, and when they find a discarded bottle on a bridge and they blow into it and they call for the empty man, he's meant to come. It's like a cross between Slender Man, and we know what that was like. We know how bad that was. And I can't even think what else. A group of teens, it's always a group of teens, from a small Midwestern town begin to mysteriously disappear. Locals believe it's the work of an urban legend known as the Empty Man. I won't go on any further. Now, it sounds really good and I like the concept, but the execution was just dull, dull, dull. I didn't like it. What did other people think? Oh, look, Dumdrums. Lee from Dumdrums gave that a 4 out of 5, so he really enjoyed it. The rest of 3, 3.5, 3. It wasn't for me. I found it very boring. The following evening, I watched the Broken Hearts Gallery. I do sometimes watch different kinds of movies if I'm in the mood for something easy. It was really predictable, romantic movie. I give it a 2 out of 5. It's basically the concept of the young girl. She's going out with a complete arse who splits up with her, and she's got a broken heart, and she is like a budding artist. So she decides to start a Broken Hearts Gallery where each person leaves one thing that is a memento of the relationship and everything that happened within it. So she starts this Broken Hearts Gallery. It's got the guy that plays Billy from Stranger Things in it. What's his? I should tell you what his name is, shouldn't I? Wait till you see it being something hard to pronounce. Is it Dacre Montgomery? I have no idea how to pronounce that. D-A-C-R-E. Dull. I wouldn't waste my time. Let me see. The next evening I watched Wrong Turn, which to be honest, I had no real intention about watching this, but everyone has been saying it's so good. I watched it. I'm afraid it wasn't for me. This, like last week, I loved most movies I watched. This week, not so much. I've written solid enough horror base, but tropes aplenty and no real empathy for any of the underdeveloped bland characters. Couldn't raise this one beyond a meh for me. That was my issue. I just did not care about any of the characters. The special effects were good. I loved the scene right at the start when something happens to the first person. I won't say anything else. I didn't care, and if I don't care, I don't get invested. I don't get frightened. I just don't care. So yeah, and saying that, most people are really enjoying this, so maybe it just wasn't for me. Oh, Lisa, what have you done now? The following evening I watched Phobias. Now this is one that was recommended by Emma at Spooky Astronaut's channel. This is an anthology movie, which generally I'm not that big a fan of anthologies, I have to admit, but this one I quite enjoyed. I've given this a 3 out of 5. In saying that, I know universally a lot of people are hating this. As a matter of fact, one person, upon hearing Emma's recommendation, Spooky Astronauts, she's a massive horror channel if you're not aware of her, went and bought and spent $7 on the movie and thought it was awful, and actually took the time to email her to say do better. I mean, really? Do better? Like, every single person is going to have exactly the same viewpoint. It's basically 5 people tied together. It's called Phobias. To be honest, it's not phobias. It's more PTSD in some cases. It's more, in some cases, compulsions. Macy Gray's in this and she's fantastic. We don't really get deep enough into any of the characters, but it's an anthology, we don't have time. I found it a really interesting watch. It was refreshingly different. I have to admit I liked it. It's not scary at all, but I enjoyed the concept, so I give that one a 3 out of 5. On the 26th, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I watched The Toll. This is a movie about a young woman that's given a lift by something akin to an Uber driver. Where she has to go is pretty far out of the way. They've both had pretty damn awful days. She's extremely suspicious the whole time, woman on her own. He's extremely socially awkward, which I relate to in a big way. I am Not very good with chat. She finds his weirdness, thinks he's going to do something horrible to her. And they end up on a road and it gets altogether quite creepy after that. They get stuck on this road. I don't want to say any more to you, but it says they must pay a toll to get off the road. A socially awkward driver and a very weary passenger try to make it to their destination while being haunted by a supernatural threat. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did find where it went a little bit predictable, but regardless, I really enjoyed the execution and the journey. I thought the acting was fabulous by the two people involved. So yeah, I give that a 3.5. Highly recommend that one. On the 27th, I watched Into the Labyrinth, L'uomo del labirinto. This is Italian. This was recommended by a friend of mine. Weirdly, Dustin Hoffman's in it. It is an Italian film, but his section is in English. The rest isn't. This one is a bit weird. It's a bit out there from what I would usually watch. It's one of those movies where you don't know if what you're watching is actually happening or if it's in the mind of the person. It did remind me a lot in places of giallo type movies, which maybe I'm not clever enough for, but they don't generally appeal to me. Now, this movie I did like. I felt though they could have done a lot more with it than they did, but it was interesting where we ended up and what happened. The acting was all superb. Everything, the actual set, how it looked was fabulous. There were like shots that were like took you right back to the 50s, like the driving in car shots, which sounds a bit odd, but I personally really liked it. I thought the style really worked. So Into the Labyrinth, I don't really want to say much. It says, when a kidnapping victim turns up alive after 15 years, a profile and a private investigator try to piece together the mystery. So that's what it's about. I don't want to go into any more detail with like, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's worth a watch, definitely. So we've only got 3 more left. Oh dear me, this is gonna... Right, so Zack Snyder's Justice League. I finally watched it at the weekend. Now, if you'd asked me what I thought of this movie halfway through, my report would not have been at all glowing, I have to admit to you. At the end, it did improve substantially for me towards the end. Now, I know everyone loves this. I know everyone's on board for it and thought it was fantastic. I love generally most of the Marvel Universe movies. Infinity War was amazing. The Endgame, you know, Black Panther, Civil War, all of those movies I like. Not such a big DC fan generally because I don't feel they've got it right for a very long time. This movie is stylized in such a way it will appeal to some people and not so much to others. I didn't feel we got deep enough into any of the characters. I thought Aquaman was completely redundant. We didn't need him at all. I loved Superman's new garb, I have to say. That was a highlight for me. I really didn't like the way Wonder Woman moved. You know, I know it's a superhero movie and you have to suspend belief and all that stuff, but it was so stylized in places it was almost like it forgot to not be disjointed. I know people will really disagree because I know people love this, and it's not because I'm not a fan of superhero movies. I do not read graphic novels or comics, whatever you want to call it. I would say people that do will say this was very close to the original envisaging of the characters, but things like the way Superman floated in the air to me looked daft. Yeah, he probably did that in the comics, but I don't know, it just... I thought visually it was a masterpiece. I thought it looked beautiful. I thought the effects were incredible. I really just did not care whether Steppenwolf or... I'll not say anyone else's name was defeated or not. I did give it a 3.5 out of 5 for effects and how it physically looks, but I really can't say that I thought it was amazing. I didn't come out of it with any emotion. I didn't come out of it like when we watched Endgame, Infinity War, all that stuff. You really cared about what was going to happen to these characters, and in this case, I just didn't. I can't put my finger on why that was, but I just didn't feel any emotion towards it whatsoever. Okay, so the next evening I watched Slacks, which I'm sure a lot of you will know what this is about. If you don't, get ready for this. This is about a pair of possessed jeans. So we have this trendy clothing store called CCC, which get this set of new jeans in. They basically mold themselves to the shape of the wearer. So it doesn't matter what size you are, they will mold themselves to your body. They've got this new type of fabric. These jeans are possessed and go around killing members of this store who are on lockdown preparing for the opening and release of their new line the next day. A vlogger's coming in, this really pretentious, annoying influence vlogger is coming into the store. She comes in, she gets involved in all this stuff. It was fun. I have to say it was a fun movie. It did make me laugh. There's a dancing scene with the jeans which cracked me up. I thought was really, really funny. I could have watched more of that all day long. But you have to get back to the fact it's about a pair of jeans that kills people. The backstory, there is a backstory as to why this happens, and that's really interesting. I really was on board for that, and I liked the whole background of it, but it's still a pair of jeans killing people. The background to this is the person that made the actual movie. This has been like a work in progress for many years, but two people were having a discussion about words they hated, and one of the words this individual hated was slacks. And they kept saying it in like evil voices, and they came to this like, oh, what about an evil pair of trousers? This is where the concept of slacks came from. I thought it would be so much worse than it was, but it did make me laugh. I did like the backstory. The acting in it is completely fine. It's fun. It's got a lot of gore in there, but it's not going to frighten you or anything like that. It's just going to make you laugh. So you could watch much worse, but it is a pair of jeans killing people. Well, just, we can't get away from that. And finally, last night I watched The Stylist. Okay, the girl in this, her acting, absolutely sublime. Let me give you her name. Why do I only ever look at people's names that I can't pronounce? Is that Najara Townsend or Nahara Townsend? Najara. Whatever it is. Her acting is completely sublime. This is about a hairdresser, a stylist who is very insecure, is very has no friends, doesn't seem to have any real contacts, is very lonely, but she obsesses over certain women that come into her salon. Basically, women do go in and tell their life story to their hairdresser. Not me, I'm not a fan of the hairdresser. They go in and it's a stranger, and they'll tell this stranger a lot of things that they wouldn't perhaps tell to people in their lives, their friends. So she gets a window into these people's lives, and she becomes obsessed by some of them, and she goes around and does quite horrible things to them. I won't go into detail, but most people have seen this and they will know, but I don't want to be spoiling anything for you. Like I say, the acting in this is fantastic. Her role, I was really invested in her character. I would have loved to have seen more about her. What she did wasn't quite as horrific as I would have liked. The special effects were fine where they were used, but it was quite minimal. What I will say though, in terms of predictability, how it ended was evident about 20 minutes into the movie, when we realise who the stylist is becoming involved with. She's doing wedding hair for a particular person that's been a customer for a long time, and she's saving her from sort of like disaster because her stylist has cancelled. So when that relationship comes on screen and when they start to-ing and fro-ing, like immediately it was like, right, this is going to happen at the end. And it didn't disappoint. That's exactly what happened at the end. It was a bit silly, but the character study of, I think her character name is Claire, was fantastic. I loved her. I thought she was really believable. I actually have to say I sympathised with her character. She's very socially awkward. She's messed up in the head, let's not forget, but she's just not good with people at all, and she doesn't have any real close relationships, and this has turned her into a bit of a not a very nice person. But it was okay. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. The ending being as predictable as it was just ruined it for me. Now, I have heard this is actually taken from a short, which I do feel this would have worked so much better as a short. As a matter of fact, when I was watching it, I said, this would work so much better as a short. And then I heard today, upon watching someone else's review, that originally it was a short. It should have stayed a short, in my opinion. But you could do a lot worse. The character study of Claire, fantastic. Everything else, a bit meh. So that is all the movies I watched this week. The only other thing I've started to watch on Netflix is a series called Sky Rojo. This is Spanish and it's by the makers of Money Heist, which if you know my channel you will know I thought Money Heist was one of the best series in years. I love it. Cannot wait for the next series. This, I'm warming to it now. I'm beginning to really enjoy it now. I think I'm about 6 episodes in. There are 16 in total. They're quite short episodes. This is following 3 girls who have escaped from a brothel. Now, I don't want to be crude, but I'm not going to be able to help but be a little bit crude. The first few episodes of this, it just seems to be a case of, and are you ready guys, this will make you want to go watch this. How many different women's boobs can we put in the camera for absolutely no reason? Oh, well, yours. I know it's a brothel, I get that. But there are scenes where bums and boobs are not needed and bums and boobs are there regardless. Also, this is supposed to be about 3 real kick-ass women. But for the first few episodes, every time they needed help, they had to go to a man to get it. And everything in their life seems to like revolve around men and needing men and hating men. And it was just like, really, oh, really? Are we going to get a strong female character here? I mean, Money Heist's female characters were incredible, were awesome, were really strong, feisty women. These women, I'm beginning to warm to a bit now. They are all absolutely stunningly beautiful. It does seem it has been made to be visually very appealing to a lot of people, but thankfully now we're a bit in, the story is warming up a bit, we're getting a bit more interest and a bit more backstory. I'm just really hoping that it comes away from the whole, you're a really attractive woman, you must get your tits and ass out on camera, because that's where we are at the minute. And it gets a bit tiresome. We want to see more of these women. We want to, well, we couldn't see much more of these women than we see anyway. But hopefully now we're getting there. The story is definitely improving. We're getting away from the whole brothel scene. These 3 girls are on the run being pursued by the brother of the brothel owner. So yeah, it's getting there. It's becoming enjoyable now. But I suppose if, you know, a lot of people will very much enjoy the first few episodes. They were pretty eye-rolling for me in a lot of places. I mean, there's a scene where all the girls are lined up and someone is going down something's happened, something's went down that's not good. And someone's going down the line questioning all the girls and what do you know and what happened, blah, blah, blah. And as he's going down the line of all girls, he's pulling one of their boobs out. I mean, why? I mean, why do we need to see boobs in that situation? These women are being questioned. What does hers look like? There we go. Are you curious about what hers look like? There you go. And this is, honestly, I'm not going to start. I have no problems with nudity, but when it's not needed, it gets tiresome. So yeah, that's what I've watched this week. Let me know if there's anything you would recommend below in the comments. And I shall see you guys next week. Over and out from Lisa Lives.